So, let's talk about meditation. But this isn't going to be just about chilling out or finding a moment of peace. Nope. This is about becoming the architect of your own mind. We're going to peek inside that hidden factory in your head, the one that's constantly churning out stress, and figure out how you can start taking conscious control of the whole operation. I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? We all want to be happy. It's like the one thing we can all agree on. And yet, so often, our own thoughts, our habits, they lead us in the exact opposite direction, straight towards stress and pain. So, what on earth is going on here?
Well, this brings us to what we're going to call the happiness paradox. It's this fundamental disconnect between what we deeply want and what we actually do, day in and day out. And the source of that whole disconnect? It's right between our ears.
Yeah, this gap, this is where the real problem lives. It's like a blind spot between wanting to feel good and the things we do that, make us feel stressed. So how do we fix it? How do we bridge that gap? Well, we need a tool to look inside the mind itself. And you know what? It's surprisingly simple.
And that tool, it's the one thing that is literally always with you, your breath. Now, I know it might not sound like some revolutionary piece of tech, but trust me, it is the gateway. It's the key that lets you observe how your mind actually works. So, how do you actually do this? It starts super easy. Just take a few long, deep breaths. Let yourself arrive right here, right now. Then, instead of just thinking about breathing, try to find the actual physical sensation of it. Where do you feel it the most? Your chest? Your stomach? Just find that spot and let your attention rest there. And this last step is crucial. This isn't a test. There are no rigid rules. You're just gently experimenting, asking your body, hey, what feels good right now?
So really, what's the point of all this breath watching? It's a 2-for-1 deal for your mind. Part 1, you're teaching it to just settle down and be here, in the present, instead of bouncing all over the place. And Part 2, you're learning how to be an impartial observer of your own experience. Pretty cool, right?
Okay, but let's be real. This is the moment, right? This is where so many of us get frustrated and just give up. You're sitting there, you're trying to focus, and it feels like absolutely nothing is happening. Your mind is wandering, you're bored, and you're thinking, this is pointless. So what then? All right, to get why this happens, I want you to think about something a little weird. Making perfect scrambled eggs. Yeah, you heard me. It's actually a fantastic lesson in patience. Look, if you want truly amazing, creamy scrambled eggs, you can't rush them. You need low, gentle heat, and you just have to keep stirring. If you get impatient and crank up the heat, you get a rubbery, burnt mess. Well, meditation is the exact same way. Trying to force a feeling of calm is like turning up the heat. It just creates more mental chaos. The real magic happens when you stick with that gentle, patient attention, even when it feels like nothing's going on. And that's really the heart of it. That moment when you feel bored or when you think this isn't working, that is precisely when the real practice begins. It's about having the conviction to trust the process, just like a chef trusts the recipe and patiently sticking with it. Okay, so you're practicing with the breath, you're being patient like a pro egg scrambler, but here comes the big plot twist. The breath was never the problem we were trying to solve. It's the flashlight that helps us see the real problem. See, the challenge you think you have is just keeping your mind from wandering off. And yeah, that's tricky. But the real issue, the one that's going on just below the surface, is the hidden process where your mind is actively building your feelings of stress and anxiety, piece by piece, moment by moment. And that is why the breath is so incredibly important. It's not about becoming a world champion breather. It's about letting the surface of your mind get still enough that you can finally see all the hidden machinery working underneath. It's like letting the water in a pond settle so you can see all the way to the bottom. And once you start looking, oh man, what you find is wild. You realize your mind isn't just one single voice. It's like a loud committee meeting with tons of different conversations all happening at once. You start catching yourself making these tiny little decisions you never knew you were making, and then you get the big aha moment. You literally see a thought pop up, and then you feel the knot of stress form in your body, in real time. The connection becomes undeniable.
So this leads us to the core mechanism behind all of this. The source material calls it fabrication, which sounds a little technical, but it's basically the blueprint your mind uses to build your reality, for better or for worse.
Fabrication is just how you actively shape every single one of your experiences. It's happening on three levels: through your body, through that running commentary inside your head, and through the mental labels you slap on everything. And here's the kicker: you're doing it all the time, whether you realize it or not. All right, let's break this down. It all happens at once on three different channels. You've got bodily fabrication. That's physical stuff, like the tension in your shoulders or the way your breathing gets shallow. Then there's verbal fabrication. That's your inner narrator, the story you're constantly telling yourself. And finally, mental fabrication. That's the final judgment call, labeling things as good, bad, a total disaster. These three layers weave together to create your reality in any given moment. Now, here is where it gets really powerful. Once you can see these fabrications in action, you can start using them skillfully. You can actually change the blueprints. And let's get practical here and use a very real example: dealing with anger. Think about it. The next time you feel that flash of anger, instead of getting totally swept away, you can intervene. First, you notice the bodily fabrication. Whoa, my jaw is clenched and my shoulders are up by my ears. Then you actively change that blueprint. You intentionally breathe into that tightness. And what's amazing is that when you dismantle the physical scaffolding of the emotion, the compulsive need to lash out with words or actions, it just kind of dissolves. You've basically short-circuited the whole reaction. So how does this all tie together? Well, this entire process is about making a fundamental shift from being a passenger in your own mind, just along for the ride, to becoming the actual architect of your own well-being. This right here is the ultimate payoff. Once you really get how you build your own experience, you gain the power to dismantle the parts that are creating all that stress, and you can intentionally build something way, way better in its place. And what makes this change actually possible? It really comes down to two key things. First, by practicing with the breath, you get a little taste of a calmer, more pleasant way of being. This gives you a better alternative to aim for. And second, and this one is huge, you start to see with crystal clarity that your normal stressful reactions, they aren't mandatory. They're just habits. And habits are optional. You can choose to change them. And honestly, the best news of all is this. This is a totally manageable problem. You're not trying to develop some magical new superpower. You are simply learning how to use the skills you already have: your breath, your inner talk, your perceptions, a whole lot more wisely. So here's the main takeaway, the thing to really let sink in. This process of fabrication, it's always happening. Right now, in this very moment, you are building your reality with your body, your thoughts, and your perceptions. You have been the architect this entire time. The only real question is, what will you choose to build next?